Hang on, everybody. I think I'm having some technical difficulties. All right. We're not going to do that tonight then. Hello. We are back. I am going to add Andrea to the stream. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Wonderful.
Can you hear me?
I can. We were trying to figure out documents before we just came on, and we think we got it straightened out.
Yeah.
So we've got a few people here. People keep jumping in as I'm talking. So, hey, Boston, how you doing? And Judy, how are you? Looks like we got about 6 watching so far. Everybody's usually knows that I play the intro, even though it wasn't going to play tonight. It was being a pain. So what are we on? Wednesday today?
Yes.
Oh. Hey, Jill, how are you? So we have today and tomorrow. And this is 52 pages. And then the last one is 61.
Okay, so what I was telling you before we came on was the last, I don't know how yours was, but the last 30 pages of this was like a word count.
Oh. Oh, you're right. Okay, so this is not going to be as bad as I thought it was.
No, because it actually starts, because the first 2 pages are like just like cover pages.
Right.
So it actually starts on page 3 and goes to
and I bet you this one is like that too.
And it goes to page 134. There's 4 pages on one sheet.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So by tonight and tomorrow we should be able to get through both of these.
Yes.
So that'll be good. Okay. Hey everyone. So we are going to read. This is The State versus Elizabeth Balser. And it's the actual deposition of Andrew Bush on May 5th, 2003. It just says the first page just says the deposition upon oral examination of Andrew L. Bush, a witness produced and sworn before Susan M. Morris, a notary public in and for Miami County, Indiana, whose commission expires July 23rd, 2006, taken on behalf of the defendant at the request of Mr. Robert F. Alden, taken at the Tipton County Prosecutor's Office on Monday, the 5th day of May, 2003, and taken pursuant to the Indiana Rules of Procedure by due notice and or agreement of counsel as to date, time, and place.
Your video keeps freezing.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hopefully they can hear me.
Yeah.
All right, so this one is a little different. So it looks like you're going to be doing the questions and I'll do the answers.
Right.
Okay.
So do you want to tell? I'm Robert Alden, which is Liz Balser's attorney.
Correct. And I will be Andrew Bush again. I got it right.
Yeah, you did. Okay, are you ready?
Hey Taco Paul, how you doing? Yeah, let's go ahead and start.
Okay, state your name, please, for the record.
Andrew Lee Bush.
Okay, and Andrew, I've already introduced myself as Robert Alden. I'm the attorney for Elizabeth Balser. You understand that, right?
Yes.
And you've been through 2 depositions already this morning. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you know this already, but it's really important for the purpose of the deposition that I'll ask you a question. Make sure you understand what the question is that I'm asking you, okay?
Uh-huh.
If you don't understand the questions, just ask me to repeat it, and I'll be more than happy to repeat it, okay?
Okay.
If you know an answer, of course, that's what we're here for, to give a truthful statement, okay?
Okay.
If you don't know the answer to the question, then just state you don't know.
Okay.
But don't guess or speculate. You understand what those words mean
Yep.
as to what the answer would be.
Okay.
And if you do not want to give us an answer, then qualify your answer and indicate, I'm only saying this because of this.
Okay.
So this is what I believe to have happened, or this is what I think may have happened, or whatever, okay?
Okay.
Lord have mercy, these questions are so dumb.
I know.
But if we have a trial in this case, or in this cause, I'm going to hold you specifically to the answers that you give, okay?
Uh-huh.
So I want to make it real clear right now that you know you should be very firm about your answers.
Okay.
If you're going to give an answer,
Okay.
okay? And if you don't know, make sure you qualify it that you don't know.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So fair warning, okay?
All right.
First of all, Drew, right now, what is your age?
18.
All right, so when did you move to Tipton?
I moved to Tipton when I was around 15.
And where had you lived before that?
Illinois.
Are your mother and father divorced?
Yeah.
Okay, and did you live with your mother
Yeah, I lived
in Illinois?
with my mom in Illinois, yeah.
Okay, where about in Illinois?
Bloomington.
All right, did you live in Bloomington all your life up to the time of 15?
No.
Okay, did you ever live in Chicago or Gary, Indiana?
No.
Did you ever live close to those areas?
No.
Never did? Okay, and why did you then come to Tipton at the age of 15?
Because I wasn't getting along with my stepdad and my mom and everything, so I moved in with my dad.
You weren't getting along with them. What was the problem?
They sent me to rehab and stuff because I was using marijuana, and I didn't think that was a good reason to send me to rehab.
So what would have been a good reason to send you to rehab?
Well, something a little deeper than marijuana.
Okay. You just didn't want to quit smoking it, basically?
Yeah, I didn't see the harm in it.
Okay. Were you using other drugs
Not at that time.
at that point in time?
No, not at that time.
Okay. Did you have any juvenile criminal problems?
No,
Okay. So how long did you live in Bloomington?
not too long, just a couple months.
Okay. Let's say 14 to 15. Where were you living then?
Lived in Minneconk, Illinois for a little while, and then we moved to Bloomington. So it was in between Minneconk and Bloomington.
Okay. Whose decision was it to have you live with your father?
I'm not really, it was kind of, I wanted to live with my dad. My mom didn't really want me to, but then my stepdad said, F it, send it to him, you know?
Okay. So what's your father's name?
Leroy. Well, Roy.
Roy?
Roy Lee Bush. Just like mine.
Bush. Okay. And he lived in Tipton when you moved there. Is that correct?
He still lives here, yeah.
And does he live in the same place
That he did,
as he did when you were 15?
yeah.
All right. And that's in the trailer park?
Yep.
Did you ever come visit him in the summers or on weekends?
Like before I came to live with him?
Uh-huh. Before?
No.
Okay. How many years had it been since he'd seen you?
5, 4.
Okay. Did you have any telephone contact with him during this period of time?
Not until like, well, up till the last year maybe. Like from
You're
the
still
time
reading.
I was like, just turned 14 and I started talking to him a little bit.
All right. And you were telling him that you wanted to come up and live with him. Is that correct?
Yeah.
When you came up here, was your father married?
No.
Did he have anybody else living with him?
Yeah, he takes care of my grandma and my grandpa.
So they live with him?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you came up here, did you start school?
I did for like the first 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
And what year would you have been?
Sophomore. I was supposed to be a sophomore, but I think my credits reflected me to be a freshman, but I was supposed to be a sophomore, but I only had like so many credits. So
All right. And when you started school here, who did you begin to run around with? Who were your friends?
I never did. I never did really hang out with anybody from the time that I met people in school. I didn't meet any friends until afterwards.
Okay. Well, you're only talking a couple of weeks or a month, right?
Yeah, I was only in school for like 2 weeks. So I never really met anybody from the school.
Okay. So then you're out of school and you're 15.
Right.
Was there not a problem with the authorities, the fact that you weren't going to school?
No,
Your dad didn't care?
I was kind of, he cared, but there wasn't, I don't know, it's kind of harsh to say because I was so young, but there wasn't really much he could do about it, you know?
Just because of your attitude, you mean?
Yeah,
You weren't going you weren't going to have anybody tell you what to do at this point in time of your life.
pretty much.
Is that right?
Pretty much, yes, sir.
Did you and your father have any arguments about your activities?
No, not really. No.
So basically, he didn't really care what you did. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, he cared what I did, but
Well, how did he care what you did?
I mean, he didn't want me out partying all the time and stuff like that.
But you did anyways, right?
Yeah.
So did you have any arguments?
No, he'd given me the look and shake his head and that's it.
So he didn't care enough to discipline you in any way. Is that correct?
He tried.
And you did what?
He'd say, you're not going nowhere today," and then I'd leave anyways.
Did he ever say you need to go back to your mother?
I lost my spot. Hang on. Okay. He tried, yeah. He said something like that once, but the next day he didn't mean it, you know.
Is he an alcoholic?
He drinks.
No, I want to know if he's an alcoholic.
No, I'd say,
You'd say he is an alcoholic?
yeah, I mean, I'm I'm not a professional doctor or anything, but
Well, let's just ask the question differently then. Is he intoxicated about every day?
No, not every day, no.
Does he drink every day?
No,
Does he work?
no, he's on Social Security.
And what kind of disability does he have?
I don't think, I think his back's blown out or something. I'm not sure.
All right. So you're wanting to go party. You're 15. Do you have a job, or how are you getting your money?
Yeah, I had a job.
What are you doing?
I worked for Closer Construction.
What did you do for them?
I put siding on houses and set doors and windows.
And this is at what age?
I started it at 15. At 15, I didn't really do much but like clean up messes and go get stuff for them. Then I turned 16. I started pretty much doing my own thing.
How much were you getting paid
When I started or when I left.
when you started?
When I started, I got paid like $7 an hour. When I left, I was making like 11, 12.
So how much were you getting paid? How much were you getting paid by a check?
I got paid cash.
So you didn't file any income tax returns, is that correct?
No,
And did you spend all your money on drugs?
no,
Most of it?
no,
Okay. What'd you spend it on?
I didn't.
So you built up a big savings account in the bank?
Not too big. I mean, I'd spend it, but I mean, I've still got money, yeah.
Did you have a car?
No, I never had a license, so
Okay. Now you said you didn't have any friends until afterwards.
uh-huh.
What friends did you start developing then?
I met this Matt Clouser out of the park one day, and besides Matt, I didn't really hang out with anybody besides every now and then I'd hang out with Jason Jackson because he lived in the same trailer court as me. Other than that, I didn't hang out with anybody.
All right. This is for how long a period of time?
What do you mean? That I'd known him?
Well, you started hanging out with them after you were about 15.
15, yeah.
Until about how long?
Till till now. I still talk to him.
Okay. Did you have any other good friends besides Matt Clouser and Jason Jackson during this entire period of time?
No, nobody that I'd confide in, if that's what you mean.
Who'd you hang out with?
That's it. I worked like you wouldn't believe. I worked from 5 in the morning until 5 at night. I'd come home sometimes and I wouldn't see nobody.
Then you'd go party, right?
No, I'd party by myself.
You'd party by yourself. Okay. And
Go to bed.
where did you party?
At my dad's or wherever I was at.
When you say you partied, what are you talking about?
Whatever, do pills, oxys, Xanax, whatever, drink, smoke weed.
And did your dad know you were doing this stuff in his trailer?
I never did it I can't. I wasn't allowed to do it in the trailer, but we did it around the vicinity.
We, meaning you, Matt, and Jason?
No, just like me and Matt. No, I'm not implicating Jason, but me and Matt would go and smoke. We'd go smoke a joint or so over on the park bench.
Well, was Matt into pills and oxys and everything as well?
No,
When did you start getting into that? What age?
probably when I turned 16.
And who introduced you to it?
Toxies?
Uh-huh.
Nobody really introduced me to them. I found a bottle of them one day at some older lady's house, and I took one of them and I tried it and I liked it. And then I just found people that sold them from them on out. So
Where would you find them, the people that sold them?
Greentown, Kokomo, here, Windfall, wherever.
What kind of pills were you on?
Oxycontins, Xanax, and how do you pronounce that?
Dilaudid.
Dilaudids.
And did you begin using more and more and more as time went on?
Oh yeah.
In order your body became sort of adjusted to it?
Yeah, I started.
The use of them, is that correct?
Right.
And so by the time you left Tipton, how old were you?
I was 17.
And by the time do you remember what month you left?
I left twice, so.
Okay, the first time?
Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a minute. Do you notice how this kid is stating that he doesn't have any friends? So,
other than the ones he worked with.
right. So when did he supposedly meet Elizabeth Balser and all of them? You mean to tell me the whole time he was there in the beginning, he didn't have any friends and didn't hang out with anybody? It was just Matt and the Jackson boy, and he hung out by himself and did all of this? Does it seem like he's not being forthcoming?
Right, because in his other statements, he said that Liz lived in the same trailer court and he knew her because, she lived 7 trailers away from him.
Right.
But claimed they were never friends.
It just seems like in the actual deposition, when her lawyer is questioning him, that he's being more, I don't know, excluded or more standoffish.
He's trying to make himself out to be a loner.
Right. I mean, he had to ask all those questions. He's trying to get at who did you hang around with, who did you meet, where'd you go? And he's just, right. He had to ask several questions of the same type of question just to get some kind of answer, and then probably got frustrated and moved on.
Yeah, because, I mean, we've read these, and a lot of this is just like, are you kidding me? Why do you keep hammering and hammering and hammering the same thing?
Right. Okay, so it's not just me that's thinking this. Okay.
No, but we're starting to get into the meat of things now, sort of.
So, Andrea's here, and she is reading with me, but I stopped reading because this whole first part, this is the actual deposition. This is what this attorney is going to use in court to ask his questions of Andrew Bush. And I mean, he drugged those questions out, trying to figure out. So it's 5 pages worth, but there's 4 pages on each page. So he took so much time just trying to figure out who Andrew Bush hung around with. What other kids was he around at this time? And Andrew's basically saying no one. Oh, I hung out with Matt.
For 4 pages he did that.
Yeah. Yeah, he basically said he hung out with Matt Clauser and well, Jason Jackson.
Yeah.
But it took us 14 pages to figure that out.
Right.
It's like it's like dragging he has to drag the answers out of them, and it's ridiculous. Hey Melissa, hey Steve. Okay, let's finish with the bottom of page 14. It's frustrating reading this again.
Okay, the first time?
The first time I don't remember the exact day. I don't I don't know the exact date or roundabout what it was.
All right. Well, let's reference it to the incident of Tabby's death. Okay, that's October.
Okay. Okay, 9 months before?
9 months before you left.
That was the first time.
Okay, and so I'm sorry. What's your date of birth again?
4/4/85.
All right, and Tabby's death was on October the 2nd of 2002. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were 17 at that time. So you would have, and that was in October. So it would have been like in February, you think you left?
I'd say somewhere around there, yeah.
Okay, and so you were 16 at that time?
Yeah, 16, probably just about to turn 17. So it was probably around March, early April.
Okay, and why did you leave for Florida?
Because my girlfriend wanted to be closer to her family.
All right, let's fill in some gaps here now. You began using more and more drugs as you got older. That's a fact. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and by the time that you left for Florida in March of 2002, what kind of drugs were you taking, and what would it take you to get high?
I was doing like I wasn't I wasn't as bad like shooting up at that time as I was when I came back. At that time, I could take like 80 milligrams would do me fine for the whole day.
Of oxys?
Yeah.
And were you mixing it with Xanax
Yeah.
and Dilaudids?
No, I never mixed it with the Dilaudids. The Dilaudids I take separately on different days.
And were you smoking marijuana with it?
Yeah.
And were you drinking hard liquor with it?
Not on occasion.
Okay. Now, were you literally high every day
Yeah.
at this point in time?
Yeah.
Okay. What effect, if you had 80 milligrams of oxy and Xanax and alcohol and marijuana, what effect did that have on you?
Kind of comatose state.
You were just walking around in sort of a,
Zombified.
uh-huh. And how did that relate to your ability to function with other people and have conversations and?
Depends on who it was. I could talk to some people, and then some people would just look at me like a junkie and walk the other way. So,
Because you had just had kind of a glaze in your eyes,
yeah.
kind of attitude and look.
Yeah.
Were you able to remember conversations and you would have with people and things like that?
Man, I've got a bad short term memory, a real bad short term memory. Like, I can't remember like people's names real quick, or.
Well, more than people's names. I mean, I'm talking about just the events of the day. Could you even?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of blank spots, but I know what I generally did for the day.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of blank spots too. So
All right. And then when you left for Florida in March of 1985, you eventually returned again. Is that correct?
yeah,
And by the time you returned, you were
I was 17 then.
and you were and you were how and you were talking more drugs and you were maintaining it, mainlining it.
No, I was actually clean then when I came back from pills.
Okay.
Because I couldn't get no pills when I lived in Florida. I didn't know anybody. And when I came back up here, I came back up. And as soon as I came back up, my girlfriends left. Me and her broke up. And then I started mainlining them and everything.
So that would have been about what month?
Like late summer,
So you came back here what month?
late summer, I don't know what month.
August or
Either,
July, August?
either or.
Okay. Now let's go to your girlfriend. What's her name? What was her name?
Amanda Cohen.
Spell her last name.
Keown.
Where did you meet her?
Here,
So you did develop other friends besides Matt and Jason?
well, yeah, I meant just her. I didn't, I thought you were talking about like people I just ran with and partied with. Oh, God, give me a break.
I'm sitting here about to bust a gut.
Sorry,
Okay.
but this is ridiculous.
Okay. When did what in the world? When did
When did? No,
you're
just
next?
her. Amanda was the only other person, like,
Did you run with her?
she'd come to my house, I'd go to her house. We wouldn't go partying or nothing. Oh, yeah, right. Come on, give me a break. Sorry, that part is not in the deposition, but. Okay.
Were you together every day?
Not every day, no. But we were
Just about?
together a lot, yeah.
Okay. And developed probably a sexual relationship. Is that right?
Yeah,
So you talked about a lot of things together. Is that right?
yeah,
So she would know you as well as anybody. Is that right?
yeah, probably.
Where is she now?
She lives in Windfall. I don't know the address, but
And what caused the two of you to break up?
what day is that supposed to be? I went to
Carburation day.
Carburation Day. That's what did it.
All right. And she got, by the way, Carburation day is down at the Indy 500.
Oh, okay.
All right. And she got mad because she wanted you to be with her. Is that it?
Well, she knows I go to it every year, and none of the wives or girlfriends are allowed to go. You know, all everybody I worked with, we all would go, and she wasn't, I told her, I was like, you can't go. It's kind of like a guy's thing. And when I came back, she had all of her shit moved out. So,
Oh, so you were actually living with her?
no, she was living with me.
At where?
She was living with me for a little bit at Brian's house.
And who's Brian?
Brian Bowen,
Spell it.
Bowen.
And he lives in Tipton?
No, he lives in Windfall.
Oh, is Windfall?
And I believe that's who she lives with now. So I don't know what the deal is with all that, but
Other than the people you work with, Matt Clouser, Jason Jackson, and Amanda, who else did you spend time talking with?
Heather Tharp, and that's really about it. I didn't really talk to anybody else about nothing.
Okay, time.
Yeah.
So he says he didn't have any friends, but now all the friends are starting, all the people that he hangs out with is starting to come out.
And it took 20 pages of questions for that
Exactly.
to happen.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, now after August, then and until October the 2nd, did you develop any new sets of friends?
No,
You just live the same kind of life?
same thing. I mean, nobody I want to call friends. People I, shot up with. That's about it.
Okay. Who are they?
Tony Edwards,
Who else?
Willie Savage. Now the reporter goes, Willie
Really
Savage,
savage.
and the witness nods.
Who else?
That's about it.
And where did you shoot up with them?
At my trailer.
During this period of time that you were taking these drugs, you've indicated that you did it pretty much privately?
Yeah.
How often would you do it at the park?
At the park. I just kind of whenever I was feeling kind of alone. I mean, that wasn't really like a planned thing. I probably shot up out there maybe 4 or 5 times my whole life.
You didn't have the park was sort of risky. You didn't, I think that's supposed to mean say you didn't think that the park was sort of risky, wasn't it?
That's what everybody thought, but I don't know. I mean, me and Matt, we sat at the park in the pavilion ever since we were 15, drinking and getting high.
And the cops never ever
We've never been.
stopped you,
No.
knowing that you were not even of age to.
They busted a lot of our friends, but they've never busted me or Matt.
Do you know any of the officers personally?
No, a couple of them.
Had you ever worked with them before while you were in high school?
No,
Or in not high school, but when you were 15, 16, before you went to Florida, were you given any information to them or anything like that?
uh-uh.
All right. So based upon the fact that you had these limited personal experiences with people in this town, other than the ones that you've mentioned,
Well, don't get me wrong. I know everybody,
all right.
and everybody knows me. But whether I talk to them or not is a different story.
All right. Well, let's get into different people then. Okay.
I, I, okay.
All right. When did you first meet Tabby Raines?
That would have been right when I first moved here. I went to school for, like I said, like 2 weeks here.
Uh-huh.
And she was in my my last hour class. She sat right next to me.
Okay. And so you said you didn't talk to anybody at school, so I'm assuming you didn't talk to her either, right?
Well, I talked to her. Me and her, we kind of, I don't know. We were kind of like talked for a little while, not really date or anything, but we talked for, a little while, and
So,
we were just friends. We were pretty good friends. but
Okay. So this is an example of what we were talking about earlier.
right.
Okay? If you're going to give me an answer in something that you didn't do this or you didn't do that, then if you need to qualify it, okay? Because you said you didn't talk to anybody at school. Now you're saying you did. And so
Yeah.
you tell me
Okay.
who you talked to at school, what kind of friendships you made with the people that you talked to at school.
Well, she's about it.
If there were hundreds of them.
No, she
Pardon me?
she's about it. I really didn't talk to many people then.
Okay. Now
Oh, hang on.
you lasted
Okay, go ahead.
okay, now you lasted in school for, so she's the only person you talked to in school. Indiscernible both speaking.
Cuz she sat next. Yeah, she sat next
Okay.
to me, and we'd go. I mean, we got high together, a couple times after school and stuff, and that's why I talked to her.
Okay, and how old was she at this time?
All right, hang on a minute. My cat is banging. Hey, Digital, how you doing? Okay, so once again, he's stating that he did not know anybody. He didn't talk to anybody. He didn't know anybody except for a few people. And now it's coming out that he did know people and did have some friends.
I think we're up to 6 or 7 so far
Right.
since him
But
saying he knew nobody.
but this Elizabeth Balser's attorney is actually having to pretty much catch him in lies
Right.
and call him out
Well,
on it.
but he said he didn't consider them as friends. He just considered them people he shot up with.
Okay. So
Whatever.
he's getting technical in terms.
Exactly.
Okay. Where were we?
How old was she?
Same age as me, I believe. Well, a year younger than me. He can't even answer a question straight and honest.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, was she pregnant at the time?
No.
So where would you get high with her? And this
Huh?
attorney, he blows my mind. So
Yeah.
what I mean, okay. You
We
said the part
just so the audience knows, we are cutting out a lot of duplicate words
and a
and
lot of
all
the uhs and yeah.
ahs and yeah.
Okay, you said at the park, right?
No, I didn't. Ask the
Where would you get high with her?
at the park.
And who were her friends at the time?
Never really knew who she hung out with. I'm not sure.
So you would like say, "Hey Tabby, meet me at the park
Yeah.
and let's get high together."
Well, we'd walk across there together right after school.
Okay, so people would see you together then.
Well, for a couple of times, like 2 or 3 times, I'd say yeah.
So any of her friends would know that she got high with you because she would have probably told them. Is that right?
Probably, yeah, I'd say.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, normally she's not one to go telling people's business, but
Well, I mean, school. It's a public place, right?
Well, I know, but she's not like that.
Well, if you're talking to her in class, people would see that, right?
Yeah,
Okay. And if you're down at the park, there's like hundreds of people down there, right?
in, yeah, not where we go to get high at, but yeah,
Where would you go to get high?
the to the slab. There's a big concrete slab out there.
And you were the only two people that were there?
At the time, yeah. But I mean, as soon as we left,
How'd you control that?
you don't. You just get lucky and hope nobody comes down there.
So every time you got high with her, nobody ever came down there.
No, I've had people come down there before. For the life of me, I can't remember their names though.
Describe them.
Just insignificant people, random kids from school. I don't.
Do you think that there's anybody in this town that would know that you did anything with her?
What do you mean? Like, even hung out with her, period?
Yeah.
Yeah, her sister.
And what would her sister know?
Her sister knows because her sister was at a party with me and her.
And what's her sister's name?
Tara. And Tara's boyfriend, Travis Klauser, he knows too. I took her to get her first tattoo done.
Well, who? You took who to get her tattoo?
Tabby.
So what, based upon then your relationship as you're describing it, that you developed with her, did you see her after you came back and after you broke up with Amanda?
No, like 2 weeks prior to her dying, like every now and then I'd hear from her. And I didn't hear from her as when her and Mike got together. I didn't hear from her for the longest time, you know. And then like about 2 weeks before she died, I started she'd, stop me on the street every now and then, you know what I mean? Whenever she seen me, she'd start saying stuff to me, and she was complaining and stuff about how her and Mike weren't too happy and everything. Just being friends, just talking to me about it, you know, and that's pretty much it. But that was the only communication we had, you know, prior to was 2 weeks before she died.
Well, knowing she wasn't happy, did you ever suggest to her that maybe you guys could go get high or something?
No,
Why not?
because I wasn't. The thing is with guys our age is you don't ask other guys, old ladies, to come and get effed up with you
Why not?
because it's bad karma.
Bad karma?
Yeah.
How's it bad karma?
Well, I mean, you know, if I went and, took your old lady out and got her drunk and took advantage of her, then what?
Then what?
You know what I mean. We just don't do that. We don't take I don't do that. I mean, I don't know any other guys that do that.
So it's when you say karma, are you talking about it's a respect thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't just
But wouldn't,
take somebody's old lady out and go get high cuz she's talking shit about her boyfriend.
well, but did you know Mike?
I knew Mike. I didn't I didn't know him personally, no.
Did you know that Tabby was having relationships with anybody else?
I didn't know she was having any relationships. I she had said to me that Mike might have been.
Did she ever say she did anything with guys who were not her husband?
Uh-uh.
All right, let's go to Elizabeth. Tell me how you met her, how you developed a relationship with her.
Well, she lived right down the road from me, and I'm sorry, but met her down the road from, she lived right down the road from me. And when I first moved to town, I didn't have anybody to hook me up, you know? I needed to get some green, and no, I didn't know anybody that could sell me weed. And I'd always see her out riding around and stuff. And then, she seen me drinking a beer one day or something, I don't know. So she knew I was cool. So she stopped and talked to me, and then she just eventually started hooking me up with weed, you know. Like she'd go get green for me whenever, and that's kind of how we met, was through that.
And then how did that relationship develop?
It eventually kind of fell out because I eventually got my own hookups. You know what I mean? Because if you if you give something to somebody and it goes through her hands and then it goes through another person's hands, it's not what you paid for in the first place. You know what I mean? So I just kind of quit talking to her because she was ripping me off, you know,
So, didn't, in fact, you all have an argument about that issue?
about.
About somebody ripping somebody off? Either she was complaining to you about you ripping her off, or you complained to her that she ripped you off, and that.
Yeah, we had an argument about a quarter bag one time.
And so the two of you just basically
Quit talking,
quit talking and
pretty much.
basically had an attitude towards each other, didn't you?
Not really. I mean, every time she drove by, she'd wave still. You know what I mean? She didn't like play it like she hated me or anything. I never played it like I hated her. We just stayed away from each other.
And that would have been how long before October the 2nd of 2002?
Before we had the argument, or
Before you, yeah, kind of on the outs with each other.
probably like 9 months. But
Okay. And
Mr.
then
Rich
Jay Rich
says,
says
yeah,
9 months before.
yeah, easily.
So about when you went to Florida?
Yeah, probably, and probably maybe even a little before.
Okay. And after you came back from Florida, then you would never have said one word to her. Is that right?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to act like I don't know who she is or anything. I'm not a rude.
I didn't ask. I mean, indiscernible, both speaking.
Yeah, I'm not a rude guy. I mean, if she goes by, I wave at her, she waves back. That's how it was. It wasn't anything uncomfortable. I mean, we lived in the same trailer court. I wasn't trying to have any feuds going on or anything.
Let's talk about Yates. When did you get to know him?
Yates wasn't really another one that I really associated with too much. The only ways I really knew him was like, if I was riding around or whatever, if I seen him, or if one of my buddies that knew him seen him or whatever, he, hey there, Yates. You know what I'm saying. You just see people out. When kids see people, they point them out. I knew who he was, and plus the fact that whenever Neff would come by to buy stuff for me, he'd always be in the car waiting.
Freeze.
Time out.
Now, time out. In
Yeah.
his statement last night, he said he didn't know Neff. He just knew of him.
Yep.
But right here, it's stating that Neff would come and buy stuff from him.
Right. Oh my.
Continuing on. So you knew Yates because he associated with Neff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right. What's the difference in ages between you and Yates?
I'm not sure. Maybe a year or two? I'm not sure.
Did you ever spend any alone time with Yates?
No.
In your life?
No.
Did you ever have any one-on-one discussions with him at all?
No.
Ever in your life?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Other than being with Neff, who would have been present any other time that you would have been with Yates?
That I would have been with Yates?
Uh-huh.
Maybe Derek Boyd?
And under what circumstance?
Just selling him something and getting out there?
Okay. You would be selling to Boyd or you would be selling to Neff. Is that what you're saying?
Either or, yeah.
Okay. Now when were these, when would you have been doing that? During what period of time?
Pretty much the whole time I lived there.
After you came back from Florida, before you went to Florida?
I did it both. Both.
Okay, all right. How would you, if you were going to describe Yates' personality or character, how would you describe it?
I can't. I don't really know it well enough. I think me personally, I never sold him anything, and he always waited in the car because I always thought he was a snitch. So I never dealt with him. So I guess if I was to rate him character-wise, I don't know. Couldn't trust him, I guess.
What was his reputation?
All right, time out. Linda, we're reading from Andrew Bush's deposition in the Elizabeth Balser case. Okay, can you ask the question again and then I'll answer?
What was Yates's reputation?
I didn't care. I didn't know.
Was it
I didn't know. I don't know.
tough guy? A guy that just kind of hung around?
I don't know.
Just did whatever? Nobody ever talked about him at all?
Not to me, no.
Okay. How about Neff? When did you meet him?
I met him about the same time I met Liz. And at first, it was more just kind of like I'd see him at places that I was at.
Like where?
Liz used to take me to this, I don't even know the guy's name. It's been so long. But Liz used to take me out to some place out in the country to go get weed. And I'd just ride along. I wouldn't go inside or nothing. I'd just ride along with her, And I'd just see them all standing out on the porch, wherever we'd go. Whenever I'd go to get it.
Who's them?
The guy that owned the house. I don't know who his name was. And all their other buddies. I don't remember a lot of their names.
I don't quite understand the relationship between Neff and what you're telling me about.
I'm saying there's a guy's house that's out in the middle of the country that used to sell weed.
And Neff would hang out there?
I guess I'd see him there.
Where was it?
It's it was way out in the country that way. I don't even
Towards Noblesville?
Yeah, towards it was right next to Atlanta. Haskell, that's what everybody called him.
Haskell?
Yeah.
All right. And that's the only time you ever saw Neff?
No, besides the times he'd come to my driveway asking me for dope and stuff.
How'd he know to come to you?
A lot of people know come to me.
Okay. So were you essentially distributing
Pills.
drugs here in the county?
Yeah.
And specifically, what substances?
Xanax and Oxycontin.
All right. Where were you good? When you were good enough friends to be riding around with Liz, did you get to know her friends?
A couple of them.
Who?
Like Emily Sprinkle,
And who else?
Brandy something, kind of a bigger girl. I don't really know her last name. I want to say Brandy Barnes.
And does Emily Sprinkle know about the falling out that you had with Liz?
I'm sure she does. I'm not sure if she was around, but I'm sure she knows that we weren't on good terms.
How often did you see them together? Oh, wait a minute. What was Liz's relationship to Neff?
I friends, but I don't know. I mean,
How often did you see them together?
not really too often, but I'd seen them enough, enough to where you know it.
Where would you see them?
Like they'd always every time she'd leave the trailer court, she'd have to leave to come she'd have to come by my house to leave it. And me and my dad's known for sitting on the porch. He always sits on the porch. So if I'm home, I sit on the porch with my dad and I see people drive through all day long, and I'd see, her and Neff go through 2 or 3 times a day. You know, if they were kicking it that day, then you'd see them coming in and out of there a couple times.
Kicking it means what?
Just hanging out.
And during what period of time are you talking about now?
This is more towards like this is before I even moved the first time. Like when I'd see them together a lot.
So it would have been a year before October the 2nd, 2002?
Right, right.
All right. Now, when you came back in August or September of 2002, did you ever see them together?
Yes, I did. Same thing, coming through the trailer court and stuff. And then one night Liz came by with Neff, but this time Neff stayed in the car, and Liz came up and asked me for some shit. 'Cause see, I'd still sell to Liz, but I just didn't associate with her. We wouldn't kick it or anything. We wouldn't party together, but I'd still sell her. She's still money to me. That's how I look at it. I just looked at it like, hey, I'm just dealing with her for the money.
So you felt that Yates and Neff were tight, is that right?
They were together a lot, yeah.
And the only time you would see Neff with Liz was when basically they were doing drugs?
No, just whenever they came through the trailer court. I wasn't necessarily saying they were doing drugs, but they came through and stopped one time and asked me for drugs.
So if you saw them together and thought that they were kicking or friends or hanging out together, then certainly Emily.
If I was.
Sprinkle would know about it, and also Liz's other friends. Is that right?
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay, and then what was Liz's relationship to Yates
As far as
or with Yates?
I don't really know.
Did you ever see them together?
Not now that you say not really. I don't I don't remember any specific time. You know what I mean? Like I remember the time when Yates or when Neff and her rolled up to my house, you know. I remember that specifically. And I remember seeing them drive through all the time, but I don't really have any.
You remember seeing who drive through?
Neff and Neff and Liz. I
I'm talking about Yates and Liz.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying I don't have any definites like I do with Neff. I don't.
Okay.
I can't say for sure.
So you can't say for sure that you ever saw Yates with Liz.
I can't. No, I can't say that. No, other than the night in question.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that the record's clear. Your statement is you don't recall ever seeing Yates with Liz other than the night in question.
Correct.
How long did Liz have her car that you rode in?
Well, I remember when I first met her, she had.
And what kind of car are you talking about?
Well, when I first met her, she had a green Duster.
Okay.
And that's the only car I ever really rode around in because we like I said, we didn't really hang out much after that. And then she had a big rusty orangish brownish colored boat.
Do you know what kind of car that was?
I don't know what kind of car. It was a four-door big ass something. I don't know what kind of car it was, but big and orange and rusty looking. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Was that the last time that you saw her driving it before October? I think in your statement you said you saw her driving it in October, October the 2nd. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
And when was the last time you saw her driving it before that?
I couldn't safely say that I don't know. I couldn't get a day. I couldn't put a day on it or anything.
Well, did you see her?
I mean, that's all she did was she drove that car. That's all she did. She never tried to be at home. You know what I mean? She was never at home. She was always away driving around in the country getting stoned. I mean,
Well, as far as you seen her since you lived 7 trailers away
right.
from her, did you
I'm sure
literally see her every day?
I pretty much yeah, pretty much every day I'd see her, so but I mean other than that, I do remember a point in time when she wasn't driving her car at all. You know what I mean? And
When's that time?
that's what I'm saying. I don't remember. That's why I don't know.
Do you know why?
Huh?
Do you know why?
Why she wasn't driving the car?
Yeah, if you say there was a point in time
Uh-huh.
where you don't remember her doing it,
I don't. I don't know why she
is there a reason?
wasn't driving it.
Oh, you don't?
It was just parked for I think Bob, her stepdad, took it away from her or something. I don't know. But I just remember it was parked for a while and sitting in their driveway, and it just didn't move for a while.
But this is not around the time of October the 2nd,
Yeah, it was.
or was it?
It was like 3 weeks before.
for just a short period of time, or?
Yeah, not too long, not too long.
How about after October the 2nd?
No, I never seen her driving it. I don't think at all. I think the police had it.
I think the police got it like maybe a few days after October the 2nd. Like, I'm not positive on the exact date, but it would have been several days after October the 2nd. So, do you remember seeing her on the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th?
Yeah, she drove through every, you know what I mean. She drove through every day. I sat there, she drove through every day.
Okay.
Through the park, so
So, do you remember seeing her on the 3rd?
I yeah,
The day after this happened?
well, I'm not going to say the 3rd, but I'm going to say I seen her driving the car afterwards. I know that. And then all of a sudden the police had it. She wasn't driving nothing. I remember that.
Okay, but once again, I want to make sure that we understand exactly what you're saying. What you've told the police regarding the incident October the 2nd is a pretty major deal. Would you agree?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
So you lived 7 trailers away from her, right?
Uh-huh.
And you know the police eventually took the car.
Yeah.
So certainly you would have memory, and very vivid memory, of seeing her drive after that happened.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to say it was the 3rd, but I'm going to say, yeah, she drove it afterwards. I remember seeing her up until the point the police took the car. Then I don't remember seeing her drive it at all.
And that's a certainty, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and when you saw her during that period of time after October the 2nd, did you all just handle situations the same way, waving at each other and
No.
smiling at each other?
Nope. She wouldn't even look my direction, and I wouldn't look hers.
Well, you obviously had to look hers, or you couldn't have seen her driving the car, right?
Well, I wouldn't make eye contact is what I mean. We didn't no.
But you were outside.
If I was outside, yeah. I'd
You had to have seen each other, right?
yeah, right.
Okay, now let's go to October the 2nd. You took a videotape, like March the 20th. There's a videotape interview with you in Clinton, Illinois. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I've seen that. Okay, I've read your statements. Then you did another videotape at the park, right?
Yes, sir.
And I've seen that and read that statement as well. Okay? In that statement, you indicated that you were at the park at a certain time.
At I guess the time.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yep. Bingo. Bombshell. Yeah,
And that you, go ahead.
I'm just answering the Facebook user. Yes, Andrew lived in the trailer court. So this is very important. So in his first statement, he listed times. Now he's saying he guessed at the times. Okay, go ahead, Andrea.
And that you went to, well, okay, you went to the park with who?
Just myself. I got dropped off.
Okay, by whom?
Chris Baker.
Now, Chris Baker is a fellow that you, when we talked about your friends, you've.
One second. He wasn't from here.
You've never.
Well, he wasn't from here.
Okay.
And you asked me who I knew from here.
Okay. Where was he from?
Florida.
And why was he here?
He moved up here with me.
Okay. After when you came back in August or September?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did he live with you then
Yeah.
in the trailer
Yep.
with your dad
Yep.
and your grandma and grandpa?
Uh-huh.
So you guys were together every day then, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and he dropped you off because he was going to go see a girl, is that right?
Yeah, he had something to do with a girl. Yeah. I thought it was Billy. I don't, I mean, I could be mistaken though, because there's a lot of girls that like him. But yeah, I think it was Billy he went to see.
All right. Did he mention her by name? Do you remember?
No, he just said he had something to take care of, you know, and I know what that means. And I started giving him shit about it because I was like,
What does that mean?
what?
What does that mean?
That he had something to take care of?
Uh-huh.
I knew what it meant. That's what I'm saying. I started giving him shit about it. I was like, so what? You're gonna go ditch me for a girl and blah, 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 you know?
When you say something to take care of, you mean like to go have sex with somebody?
Yeah,
And he was seeing Billy on a regular basis?
fairly Yeah, they were. They were seeing each other, yeah.
Now, did Chris have a gun?
No, he had a. I do recall this one time because people started bringing up stupid rumors about it and whatever. But Chris had his little pellet gun that looked really real, and it looked really, really real, and it shot these little yellow rubber pellets. That's the only gun I know of him ever having.
Okay, and where did he keep it?
He kept it in his truck, which wasn't really too smart, but
And why would he use it?
to F with people
In what regard?
in a humorous regard.
You mean just pull it out on people and threaten them, or
Well, no, just like jokingly, like he wouldn't like just pull it on anybody, you know? He'd pull it on like people we worked with, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
so he worked with you
Yeah, he worked with me.
when you came back?
Uh huh.
And that was the same company?
Uh huh.
When had you met him?
I met him when I moved to Florida the first time
When you were
with Amanda.
in February?
Yeah, when I was with Amanda.
And you want me to read Mr. Rich?
Yeah.
Mr. Rich, I'm going to have to butt in, Bob. I apologize. I've got to make arrangements to get my son picked up. So if you'd give me 2 or 3 minutes. Oh, sure. Off record from 4:16 p.m. to 4:24 p.m.
Reporter. Okay, we're back on. Your last question was you'd asked him where he had met Chris and if it was in February when he was in Florida with Amanda.
Right. Okay. Do you remember that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's where I met him at, was in Florida.
And where did you meet him in Florida? What was,
Winter Haven.
and what were the circumstances?
The circumstances were he was one of Amanda's uncle's friends,
Okay.
and Amanda's uncle was like he was only a year older than me, so we all kind of hung out.
How old was Chris?
He's a year older than me, so 19.
Had he had any criminal problems?
Not that I know of.
He never told you anything about any convictions or going to boys' school or
No,
incarcerations?
no,
Do you know if the police have talked to Chris?
I don't know.
What kind of contact do you have with him now?
Absolutely none. He kind of left me when I was in Florida.
He left you when you were in Florida
Yeah,
the second time?
yeah.
You went there with him, didn't you?
I went there with him on his word of you know what I'm saying, on
That what?
a job and place to stay and blah 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 blah. You know, selling me dreams. And he took off on me like, I don't know, like within 3 weeks. He just up, and I woke up one morning and he was gone.
Mr. Rich, are we talking about the second time? My fault.
Yeah.
Now, the second? Okay. Now we're talking about the second time.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the date that you and he went to Florida?
It I don't know the approximate day, but it was a couple days before Thanksgiving.
Okay, so as far as Chris is concerned, you met him when you went in February or March.
Yeah.
You hung with him in Florida. You brought him back to Tipton
Yep.
with you. He stayed with you, and then you left together to go to Florida, and then you had a falling out after you got back to Florida?
Right.
And do you know where he can be reached at this point in time?
My mom just told me just a minute ago that
You got that information? Mr. Rich chuckles. Okay.
yeah, that he was in the army or something.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to Mr. Rich. Just got it. Mr. Alden. Okay. You just got it? Yeah. Mr. Rich. Yeah. Mr. Alden. Okay. Chris drops you off at the park. Now, why did you have him drop you off at the park this particular night?
I didn't have that's kind of where that's where I always go. I've always gone there since I was 15 years old to party. Time
Well,
out.
but time out.
Didn't he say earlier in this deposition that he only went to the park maybe 4 or 5 times in his entire life to party?
Yeah.
So now he's contradicting himself again,
Right.
saying that's where I always go. I've always gone there since I was 15 years old to party.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, but you just told me earlier that you don't always go there. You said you go to your trailer, outside your trailer to party, but sometimes you go to the park. So which?
Yeah, well, ever since I was 15, I've gone to the park. You know, it's not like
Daily?
no, but a couple times a week.
A couple times a week?
Oh yeah, people knew to find me there.
To buy drugs from you, you mean?
Necessarily, yeah.
Was there any certain time that you would go to the park?
No, just whenever I was there, a nice day, I'd probably be there.
Okay, and you guessed that you arrived there at what time?
9 and 10 between.
But you're talking about at night, right?
Yeah,
And what was the weather like that particular night?
a little chilly.
So do you consider that to be a nice day, a reason to go to the park?
The reason to go for me, I didn't really have anywhere else to go.
All right. So when Chris drove you to the park was closed. Is that right?
I don't think it closes until 11.
The park was open?
Yeah,
How many people were in the park during this period of time?
there was one lady walking a dog when we first got in there. That's it.
Nobody else.
No.
All right. So then the lady, did you watch her?
When he dropped me off, she was like just coming in front of me in the pavilion. And then that's the only time I seen her go around. She didn't come back around again. Normally people just go in circles, around there. And she went around once, and then that was the last time I'd seen her was when she passed me. So,
You indicated in your statement that you were high at this time. Is that right?
oh yeah.
And when you say, oh, yeah, tell me what you had had.
At that time during the day, there's I've already probably had over 120 milligrams of oxys in my system, probably 3 or 4 milligrams of Xanax. I drank about 3/4 of a bottle of vodka, and I had about a half an ounce of weed.
When did you start?
Noon.
And when were you taking this all at one time during
No,
the day, or did you
40 milligrams at a time. That's,
the oxy's 40 milligrams at a time? So you shot up 3 times?
well, I shot up twice actually, and then I snorted one.
Okay, tell me the difference between shooting up and snorting
Time,
as far as the effect it has on you.
time,
Okay, which is faster, the shooting up?
shooting up.
And how much time does it take for the oxys to have effect on you?
If I shoot it up, I can't even reach in my pocket before I'm effed up.
Okay, when you say effed up,
Well,
tell me what you're talking about.
like where I'm drooling on myself in inca, not really incoherent, but zombified.
All right, and when was the last time you shot up?
Let's see, probably around November 20th.
No, no, no. I'm talking about that night, October the 2nd. You say
Oh, the last time I shot up was about
you said you did it 2 times that day.
the last time I shot up was around like 7:30.
Okay, and when was the last time you snorted?
Right when I got there. So about like in between 9 and 10.
All right, so even though you say it's every 4 hours, you did this every in 2 hours. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I didn't really say I did it every 4 hours. I just whenever my buzz goes away, I would do some more.
So in this particular night, you did 40 milligrams at 7:30. You shot it up. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
And at 9:30, you snorted 40 more. Is
Uh-huh.
that right? And when did you buy your bottle of vodka?
It was in daytime, in somewhere in between 3 and 4 and 5.
And you were carrying it around with you?
No, it was in the truck. So yeah, we were riding around with us. Yeah.
And were you just taking pulls off of it every so often?
Yeah, just taking shots out of it.
All right. And But it was with you when he dropped you off.
Uh-huh.
You had it in your hand. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
And at the time that you began sharing it with Tabby,
That's correct.
and how much of it had you had?
When we started sharing with Tabby, there was like a half a bottle, and
Stop. Read that line.
yeah, I get it. He's getting them on it. Go and ask the next question.
Who's we started sharing it?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. When I started sharing it with her, just me and her.
Okay.
Well, yeah. There was about a half a bottle, and she's not really a big vodka drinker, so she didn't really like take that big of a shot at all, you know? And I pretty much took the rest, so
All right. Had you consumed it all by the time that you say that Liz and Yates and Neff came?
okay. I'm gonna do a timeout here.
Okay.
We're an hour and a half in already.
Yeah. And
So
we're only on page, well, we're 53 pages in, so
yeah, but we have quite a bit to go.
yeah.
So I think we'll stop there for today and then
Okay.
start there tomorrow. So basically, what have we learned about this whole deposition? That he lied about not knowing people in the beginning because it all came out in the middle that he did know people. He contradicts himself right and left. Even Janet said that. She's like, I'm as confused as he is. He says one thing and contradicts himself. Exactly. He isn't
And we
a
found out that
reliable witness to anything.
he actually did know Neff before that when he said he didn't.
Right. And we learned that he guessed at the times in his previous statements about being at the park.
Right.
This is the biggest thing right here. He isn't a reliable witness to anything. You hit it right on the head, Janet. That is exactly right. But he is one of the two key witnesses in the Elizabeth Balser trial.
And another thing that he said was that he knew a couple of the police officers.
Right. Right after Tabitha's murder, Chris Baker went into the Air Force. He was in boot camp. And they did go out there and interview him. Yes, they did. He was checking out the warrant and arrest records in Florida during the spring and summer of 2002. No one has ever found out why. That actually has me puzzled. Because Elizabeth Balser's attorney specifically asked Bush about Chris Baker's being in trouble, being incarcerated. So what were they trying to get at there?
Yeah, because he never continued on that path.
No, he did not. Yeah, we do, Mark. We have it. Yeah, and he was high all the time. And if he, okay, so he specifically, this was one of our questions to each other, Andrea, is the, when you take oxy, our question was about cocaine.
Right.
But the difference between shooting up and snorting. Now, he just said that if you shoot up, By the time you reach into your pocket, you are effed up and zombified.
Yeah, and drooling.
And then if you snort it, it takes a little bit
Longer.
longer. So I wonder if
Right.
cocaine is the same way.
But here's the thing. He shot up 40 milligrams at 7:30.
Right.
So you're going to tell me that in 2 hours' time he was sober?
No, I wouldn't think
Exactly.
so.
And he said in there that the only time he would shoot up again is when he was coming down, when his buzz was gone.
I guess this is where we would need to talk to an addict.
Yeah.
How long does the buzz last?
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, to me, 40 milligrams of OxyContin seems like a lot.
Yeah, and you think about it, people who take that for actual health reasons probably take, what, 1 or 2 a day?
Maybe, and they're probably only taking 5 or 10 milligrams at a time.
Right. So probably like in the morning and in the evening for pain management or whatever.
Right.
2 hours later, that is quite short time.
And he had shot up at noon is when he said he started, right?
Right. Yikes. I think it's safe to say that kid was a mess throughout this whole thing. Well, you would think they would know he wasn't reliable, but they used him as one of the 2 main witnesses in that trial.
Only because he was the only witness that came forward.
That wasn't one of the 3 named as being part of the murder.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Janet gets the same thing we do. Like, why did they use this kid? It does not make sense. Good golly, Miss Molly.
Well, and I'm sure everybody can tell that when it comes to Liz and Kyle and Andrew, everything's about drugs.
Yes.
So, and we all know what the saying has been: keep your mouth shut, tell different stories, and nobody gets caught.
Right.
And in the drug community, everybody's going to cover for everybody.
Right. Because nobody wants to get busted.
Right. And I'm not sure that anybody else knows this, or if we've even talked about it, but Liz had promised Yates and Neff an 8-ball of cocaine each for helping her do what she was accused of doing.
Correct. We have not talked about that yet because that comes into play when
Right.
Kyle has his statements and depositions, but yes. Oh, he definitely was involved in the hardcore drug scene.
Yeah, he even said that in his deposition. He said everybody knew to come to me.
Yeah, he admitted to dealing. I wonder if the police and Jay Rich and them were kind of slapping themselves because they told this kid that if he told the truth, he wouldn't have any charges. I mean,
Yeah, they said no criminal charges, so.
yeah, this kid was a big-time dealer in Tipton County, and here they let him go, all so that he would testify in Elizabeth Balser's trial. Oh, Janet, let's see. I think people addicted to Oxycontin probably do it more often than recommended. That's why it's being regulated more. True. There's something really strange about everything in this case. Oh,
You have
wait,
no idea. You haven't even started.
this is just the tip of the iceberg. Yes, but wonder where and how they got it. Yeah. So where was he getting it from to sell?
Well, all he ever said in the statements or in his deposition was he had people.
Right. And he didn't get busted by the cops.
Hey, Mark, do you know who who this Haskell that he was referring to is?
I don't know if
The
Marv
one that had the house in the country.
the transfer station in Hobbs.
Yeah, remember we talked about how the elite would go to the schoolhouse,
Yeah.
the furniture place.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's almost like you want to empathize with this kid because it's apparent that his mom cared because she took him to rehab right away for weed. Well, in order to get away from that situation, he goes and lives with his dad, who really doesn't care enough to stop him or do anything about it. Although he said his dad tried and he just did what he wanted anyway. So this kid ran wild, did whatever he wanted, when he wanted.
You got to remember, his dad was just as much of a drug and alcohol abuser as he was.
True. It's just a shame, you know. All right, everybody, that is where we're going to end it for tonight. I've marked which page we're on.
Yeah, I got it. I wrote it down. I marked it on the paper.
Okay. So tonight or tomorrow night, we will continue with this.
And we're just now starting to get into the juicy stuff.
Right, that's why I figured we'd stop there. Tomorrow night, we could probably finish this one out. We'll be back on at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night. Yeah, they all should be locked up. Sounds like it, huh? You're welcome. So we'll come back on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We'll knock the rest of this out. And then when I get back next week, we'll read again his deposition. But that one is the state of Indiana versus Jonathan Yates.
Okay, and have you seen how many pages that is?
That one's going to take us a while to read too.
That one's longer than this one.
I know. So the way I see it is that we'll try to keep these lives between an hour and an hour and a half, because it's really hard for everybody, to keep listening for more than that time. We'll just break it up and do lives like we did this week. So, yeah, it's interesting. Tomorrow night we'll be getting into a lot deeper information. So, hang on to your seatbelts. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
1 minute.
Oh.
Janet, the reason we're saying we don't think it happened in the park is because there was absolutely no blood, no bullets, no nothing found in the park. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Come back tomorrow night and we'll finish reading this.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.